Ever wonder what secrets hide in history's darkest corners? In this video, we dive into forbidden places that have been erased from the official records, sites of ancient battles, lost civilizations, and eerie mysteries that someone, somewhere, desperately tried to keep under lock and key. Get ready to uncover the hidden truths that history doesn't want you to discover. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Cradle of Humankind. Beneath South Africa's rugged landscape lies the Cradle of Humankind, a sprawling 47,000-hectare labyrinth of limestone caves just 50 kilometers northwest of Johannesburg that history seems desperate to keep secret. This World Heritage Site isn't your typical tourist stop. It is a forbidden vault of time where every cave and crevice hides relics from the dawn of humanity. At Bolt's Farm, early primates were first discovered, setting the stage for a series of jaw-dropping finds that would challenge everything we thought we knew about our origins. In the eerie depths of the Sterkfontein Caves, researchers unearthed Mrs. Plez, a 2.3 million year old fossil whose discovery reshaped the story of human evolution, while nearby, the Rising Star Cave system shocked the world with the unearthing of Homo naledi, a mysterious species whose deliberate burial of its dead hints at a level of ritualistic behavior once reserved for modern humans. With every fossil and stalactite, this hidden network whispers secrets of ancient lives and lost worlds. Next, we are talking about Pluto's Gate. The Plutonian at Hierapolis, also known as Pluto's Gate, is one of the most bizarre and forbidden places in history, tucked in a quiet corner of modern-day Turkey. Beneath the ruins of this ancient sanctuary lies a cave that spews toxic gases so potent that even the air itself is deadly. As early as the 2nd century BC, ancient worshippers believed this ominous site was the literal gateway to the underworld, where animals and even humans would be sacrificially thrown into the cavern only to be dragged out lifeless moments later. The gases here, still potent enough to suffocate birds today, were believed to be the breath of Pluto himself. Visitors could pay for a chance to witness animals' quick demise or to ask questions from Pluto's oracle. Yet the real draw wasn't just the spectacle, it was the mystical aura that priests, immune to the gas, cultivated around their supposed divine powers. These priests of Pluto deliberately entered the cave to prove their otherworldly protection, leaving a legacy of ritual deaths and eerie miracles. Closed off during the Christian era, the gate took on an even more forbidding charisma, its dark history igniting imaginations about the secrets it once guarded, secrets that remain locked behind its crumbling facade today. Next, we are talking about Coleman's Kop. Coleman's Kop stands as a striking relic of opulence and abandonment in Namibia's unforgiving Namib Desert. Once a booming diamond mining town built in the grand German style, it boasted everything from a hospital and ballroom to Africa's first tram and an X-ray station. Named after a transport driver who lost his ox wagon during a fierce sandstorm, this town thrived when diamonds were discovered in 1908, drawing settlers who even built private railways connecting Coleman's Kop to nearby towns and even beyond. But as World War I depleted the diamond fields and a richer find emerged 260 kilometers to the south, the town's glitter faded, leaving its streets gradually swallowed by relentless sand. Today, the eerie beauty of crumbling Edwardian mansions and desert-engulfed homes attract intrepid explorers and photographers, though entering this once flourishing jewel of German Southwest Africa now requires a special permit due to its location in a restricted area. Next, we are talking about the Kola Peninsula military base. Deep in northern Russia, the Kola Peninsula is rapidly transforming into a high-stakes battleground that the world's superpowers are watching with bated breath. Here in the heart of one of Russia's most secretive and heavily fortified regions, new underground missile storage bunkers are being built at breakneck speed, each one an impenetrable fortress, shielded by layers of barbed wire and guarded by armed checkpoints. These hidden facilities facilities, some of the most secure in the world, house Russia's most powerful nuclear and conventional weapons, including the feared Borai-class submarines and their deadly Bulava missiles. As the Northern Fleet readies its newest arsenal, it's not just about defending Russia's borders. The Kola Peninsula is at the center of a long-standing military strategy to control the Barents Sea, a move that directly impacts NATO countries like Norway with strategic missile threats and the looming possibility of military escalation. This is no ordinary military base. This is like a forbidden fortress, brimming with secrets and a constant reminder of the high tensions and fragile peace that define the Arctic's geopolitical landscape. Entering this realm isn't just a breach of territory, it's a potential spark for global conflict. And with Russia's expanding military presence, the Kola Peninsula remains one of the most strategically crucial yet hidden military sites shaping the future of global power. Next, we are talking about the Georgia Nuclear Aircraft Laboratory. Deep in the heart of Dawson Forest in Dawsonville, Georgia, a relic of Cold War secrets awaits discovery. A forgotten test site where the United States Air Force and Lockheed once dared to explore the unthinkable. At the Georgia Nuclear Aircraft Laboratory, also known as AFP number 67, scientists pushed the boundaries of possibility by experimenting with nuclear-powered aircraft and subjecting military equipment, and even the forest itself, to the harsh realities of nuclear radiation. Closed in 1971 and later deemed unsuitable for a new Atlanta airport, this eerie site still harbors classified mysteries with only concrete foundations marking where reactors and buildings once stood. The underground section remains accessible, but is now entirely flooded, save for a few shallow pockets, leaving behind a haunting reminder of a time when the very environment was a laboratory for nuclear warfare.
Building cities under the ocean might seem kinda far-fetched, but it's actually becoming a real possibility thanks to new technology. I mean, we're talking about building stuff on Mars. I mean, the sea, that's right here at home. As sea levels rise and land near the coast becomes more vulnerable to flooding, governments could be looking for places to build future cities on the ocean floor. It makes sense if we're all going to be engulfed in it anyway. The ocean has a huge amount of space that could be used to create tons of new areas to live. Underwater locations also naturally protect against extreme weather, which could be helpful as climate change increases storms and rising seas. Right now, some underwater research stations already exist in certain parts of the ocean where the conditions are well known and stable. Governments might be doing similar research to find the best spots for these underwater cities, and if that's true, they might be keeping it quiet so no one gets a jump on the idea or starts fighting over the best places to build. Well, I'm surprised we've got this far in the video without talking about this, our bread and butter on this channel, hidden technology, either from aliens or long-lost advanced civilizations. Sure, it's not something you'll usually hear from the mainstream science world, but some people believe the ocean floor could be hiding more than just oil and gas, that there could be the remnants of alien technology or artifacts from ancient civilizations that have been lost to time. The ocean, especially its deepest parts, is full of unexplored areas, and it's possible that parts of our human history or even technology far beyond what we can make today are hidden down there. Some stuff under the sea, like the Yonaguni Monument, which we've talked about before on here, still haven't been fully explained, and some people think that governments are mapping the ocean floor because there could be more down there. Alien objects, ancient pyramids, lost advanced technology. If governments were to find something like that, it could change everything we know about the world, or when it comes to aliens, even the universe. It makes sense that they might keep it a bit more secret, because revealing it could cause a huge public reaction and possibly lead to panic or a race to control whatever was discovered. So we've established that the ocean is a huge, unpredictable place, and there's still so much we don't know about it. Governments might not want to share how dangerous things could be down there. There are plenty of natural disasters like underwater earthquakes and volcanoes that could cause serious damage to coastal areas. Even changes in the ocean's ability to absorb carbon dioxide or regulate temperatures could make global warming worse. So if governments mapping the ocean floor find signs of disaster about to happen, like a massive underwater landslide that could trigger a tsunami, they might not want to share that information with the public right away. Revealing that kind of threat could cause a lot of panic, with people rushing to evacuate and causing economic chaos. Keeping the information secret for now could be a way to avoid causing fear or panic until there's a plan to handle whatever's happening. Now, the ocean isn't just a wild, unexplored place, it's also home to billions of dollars worth of critical infrastructure that's already there, like underwater internet cables, oil pipelines, energy grids. These systems are super important for a lot of countries' economies and their national security, and they need to be protected from threats like natural disasters or other people, i.e. enemy attacks. So governments map the ocean floor to figure out where underwater systems like oil pipelines or internet cables are most at risk, and then they take steps to protect them. This is especially important in places where military and critical infrastructure are in the same spots. Keeping the locations of these pipelines and cables a secret helps keep enemies from targeting them, which is really important for national security. Governments have been mapping the ocean floor for a long time, but not just for scientific reasons. The ocean floor is where some of the world's most coveted resources are hiding: oil, gas, precious metals, and rare minerals. And we're talking about huge areas that could provide trillions of dollars in resources if they're tapped into. The thing is, most of these resources are in international waters, which means multiple countries have a stake in them. The United Nations Law of the Sea, or LOS, gives nations the right to claim EEZs, exclusive economic zones, extending up to 200 miles from their coasts, but they have to prove that the ocean floor in those areas is part of their continental shelf. Mapping the ocean floor helps figure out where these resources are, and if a country can prove its ownership, it can control access to them, and that means economic power, especially for countries with limited land based on resources. But where does the secrecy come into play here? Well, by mapping areas without public knowledge, a government could maybe quietly lay claim to valuable territory before anyone else gets a chance to stake a claim. Staying ahead of the game can give world leaders a huge advantage, and sometimes the less people know, the better. The ocean floor is also a huge asset when it comes to military power. Submarines and other underwater weapons use underwater terrain for cover and stealth. The more you know about the ocean floor, the better you can hide, ambush, or track your enemy. So countries with the resources and technology to map the seafloor are also able to control underwater areas where submarines usually are. For example, the US and Russia both have huge fleets of nuclear-powered subs that could be hiding in deep, dark parts of the ocean floor. Mapping the ocean floor is, of course, pretty essential for planning military operations, from laying underwater cables for secure communications to setting up underwater bases for research and defense. Secretive mapping is also directly related to detecting enemy vessels or planning stealth operations. When the ocean floor is mapped, you can set up a surveillance network in the deep, allowing you to watch or track things. So it makes total sense that a lot of the most detailed mapping happens behind closed doors. It's easy to imagine governments around the world wanting to mine the ocean for resources, but there's a less obvious reason governments are mapping it: climate change. The ocean plays a huge role in regulating the Earth's climate, and what's going on beneath the surface can impact everything from rising sea levels to the absorption of carbon dioxide. The seafloor stores massive amounts of carbon, and what goes on there could either help or worsen the effects of global warming. But why would any of these findings be downplayed? Well, almost everything comes down to money, and most world leaders just aren't very interested in taking drastic action. But it could also be the case they don't want to trigger widespread panic. Imagine finding out that a massive underwater chain of glaciers is set to collapse drastically, raising sea levels within the next few decades. If the public knew about this, it could throw off economies, especially in coastal areas. So keeping these findings under wraps might be a way to avoid panic or prevent overreaction that could hurt the economy. The search for new sources of energy is one of the driving forces behind mapping the ocean floor. As our old energy sources like oil and gas on land start to disappear, the focus is shifting to the ocean, which contains large amounts of energy. Potentially. Underwater methane hydrates, for example, could be the next big source of fuel. These hydrates are solid compounds of methane and water that form under high pressure on the ocean floor, and scientists think they could be essential in terms of clean energy. But nobody really knows where all the biggest methane hydrate deposits are, so that's why governments are trying to map out more and more of the ocean floor. Well, part of the reason, anyway. Again, though, these underwater deposits often sit in international waters or near the borders of other countries, so getting access to them is a game of legal and political chess. Some governments are trying to keep their mapping operations under wraps because there's always the risk that once this new energy source is discovered, it could trigger this huge rush and potentially even a fight for it. The ocean floor is kind of like the Wild West in a lot of ways. It's vast, unexplored, full of potential riches. Right now, there are still large chunks of the ocean that haven't been fully explored or claimed by any countries. So governments may be secretly mapping these areas to assess whether it's worth laying claim to them. According to the law of the sea, nations again can claim the continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles if they can prove the seafloor is an extension of their landmass. But a lot of these underwater territories have never been mapped or properly investigated, so it's hard to make that claim. By mapping the ocean floor in secret, governments can gain a huge advantage when it comes time to lay this claim. Whether it's a newly discovered underwater mountain range or a hidden trench full of natural resources. And there's a major scientific reason for governments to study the ocean floor. It's a gold mine of data that could help us better understand the planet. The ocean is full of unique ecosystems and unexplored areas that could hold important information about everything from new species to our tectonic plates. Governments and researchers may keep their ocean floor mapping more private because they want to get a head start on making big discoveries that could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, energy, or environmental solutions. For example, the deep ocean might hold the key to solving major problems like pollution, climate change, or even curing diseases. If they find something that could change the game, like a natural process that could help fix some of the damage done by climate change, they won't want other countries to swoop in and take credit or claim the resources before they've fully studied and figured out how to use them.
Next, we are talking about Black Mountain. Black Mountain is no ordinary rock formation in far north Queensland. It is a forbidden battleground where ancient clan wars and restless spirits have left their mark on towering, jet black granite boulders. For local groups, this sacred land is steeped in legend, a place where epic battles once raged, from the last fatal clash between black and white cockatoos to mythic fights between giant brothers whose stone-throwing quarrels shaped the very landscape. Since the late 1800s, mysterious vanishings, couriers, cattlemen, and even police trackers have fueled eerie tales of people being swallowed by the mountain's dark forces. Elders warn that disrespecting the mountain is like meddling with a cursed Ouija board. One wrong step can leave you haunted by the same torment that once drove a headstrong visitor into a spiral of supernatural dread. Even geologist Gavin Deere, a man of science, confesses that at night, the wind whistling through these colossal boulders sounds like howling souls trapped in eternal limbo. This is a place where history, mystery, and myth collide, a mysterious frontier that challenges all who dare to tread its sacred ground without reverence. Next, we are talking about the Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is one of the most treacherous and mysterious stretches of land to cross on the planet. Spanning from southern Panama into northern Colombia, this brutal terrain is the missing link in the Pan-American Highway where the road ends and survival becomes a real challenge. Stretching over 100 miles of dense jungle, swamplands, and impassable mountains, the Darien is a lawless region that has claimed countless lives throughout history. history. It's an unforgiving place, flooded with rain, infested with deadly wildlife, and inhabited by criminal organizations that thrive in the lawless void. There are no roads, no guarantees, just the horrific stories of people who have ventured here seeking a new life, many of whom never make it. Aside from the complete lack of infrastructure, the air reeks of danger, where flash floods, poisonous snakes, and murky rivers pose constant threats. Adding to its eerie mystique, the Darien Gap is also home to indigenous tribes and remnants of ancient paths once used by both humans and wildlife moving between the continents. Despite the pervasive danger and the toll it takes on lives, both human and animal, it remains one of the ultimate forbidden frontiers, sitting unclaimed and untouched. Next, we are talking about La Cueva de los Teos. Deep in the shadowy jungles of Ecuador, hidden on the eastern slopes of the Andes, lies Cueva de los Teos, a labyrinthine cave system so steeped in forbidden lore that it reads like an Indiana Jones saga. Known as the Cave of the Oilbirds because of the native nocturnal teos, this sprawling underground world features a jaw-dropping 65-meter deep shaft leading into 4.6 kilometers of winding passages and vast chambers. Legends claim it houses a mysterious golden library filled with gleaming, hieroglyph-inscribed books allegedly left behind by lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial visitors. In 1976, one of the most ambitious expeditions ever, which even included former astronaut Neil Armstrong, scoured its depths and uncovered ancient burial sites dating back to 1500 BCE and meticulously carved passageways. Yet the fabled treasure trove remained elusive. Next up, we are talking about Kaho'olawe. Hidden beneath the radiant Hawaiian sun lies a forbidden island, scarred by war and shrouded in mystery. Kaho'olawe, this tiny, uninhabited volcanic outcrop just 11 kilometers southwest of Maui, spans less than 45 square miles, yet carries a weighty history. Once a sacred land revered as the physical embodiment of the sea god, this island's ancient stone platforms and petroglyphs whisper secrets of a time when native Hawaiians held it in deep spiritual regard. However, its beauty was marred when the US military transformed the island into a relentless bombing range during World War II and beyond, turning its dry, eroded red landscape into a haunting testament to modern warfare. The scars of thousands of explosions still mar its basaltic lava flows and hard-pan soil, a stark contrast to its former role as a peaceful, life-sustaining haven. In the 1970s, driven by a fierce cultural revival, activists staged daring landings to reclaim this desecrated land, igniting a movement that eventually led to the island's return to Hawaiian control. Now, it is designated as a cultural reserve. The island is off-limits to commercial development and is reserved solely for native cultural and spiritual purposes. And finally, to end off this list today, we are talking about the hidden chamber of Samarkand. Deep within the centuries-old walls of a forgotten madrasa in Samarkand lies a chamber that has ignited endless whispers and daring dreams. Rumor has it that this hidden room, known only to a select few locals and secretive scholarly circles, safeguards manuscripts and relics dating back to the era of Timur. Artifacts so powerful that they could upend our understanding of Central Asian history. The heavy, intricately carved doors of this chamber have remained locked to all but those deemed worthy, their mysterious contents passed down through hushed conversations and coded legends. As modern Samarkand bustles with life, the chamber stands as a silent, timeless mystery, its secrets fiercely guarded against the curious and uninvited. Every mention of this concealed trove adds another layer of allure, drawing historians, treasure seekers, and adventurers to wonder what lost wisdom lies lies hidden behind its sealed facade.
Antarctica is one of the most remote places on Earth, but that hasn't stopped Google Earth users from spotting some strange things on the icy continent. One of the biggest mysteries is a large blacked out region near the South Pole. If you try to zoom in, it's completely censored and no one seems to have a solid explanation for why. But because it's Antarctica and people get pretty creative when it comes to things like this, some believe the area is censored because it could be hiding an entrance to an underground base of some kind, possibly even connected to the rumored Third Reich Antarctic hideouts from World War II. Others think it might be covering up ancient ruins buried beneath the ice, evidence of some long-lost civilization. But the fact is, with so much of the continent unexplored, anything could be hiding under that blacked-out section. If it was just a natural feature, why censor it though? Until someone gets there and proves otherwise, people will just keep speculating about what might be hidden under the ice and why we're not allowed to see it. Imagine an island big enough to be marked on maps for over a century only to be completely erased in modern times. That's what happened with Sandy Island, a landmass that supposedly sat between Australia and New Caledonia. It appeared on maps as early as the 19th century and was even recorded by sailors who claimed to have seen it. But in 2012, when a research team went to find it, they discovered nothing, just open ocean. Google Earth, which had previously shown Sandy Island, suddenly removed it without explanation. The official story is that it was a cartography error, a mistake that somehow persisted for over 100 years, but some people aren't so convinced. Was the island real and deliberately wiped from history? Some believe it may have been used for secret military testing. Others think it was a cover for something even more mysterious. Either way, an entire island disappeared from Google Earth and no one really knows why. If you open Google Earth and zoom in on northern Kazakhstan, you'll find something strange. A massive pentagram carved into the ground. It's found near an abandoned Soviet-era town and measures about 1,200 feet in diameter. For years, conspiracy theorists have debated what it could mean. Some think it's linked to secret occult practices, others believe it might be a remnant of a Cold War military project. Part of what makes this formation so strange isn't just that it's in the shape of, a pentagram, it's that for a time it was mysteriously blurred on Google Earth, as if someone didn't want people looking at it too closely. Officially, the symbol is just the outline of an old park designed in a star shape, but that hasn't stopped people from speculating. The pentagram is often associated with mysterious, secretive societies, and given the Soviet Union's history of secrecy, who's to say there isn't more to the story? Greenland might be known for its glaciers, but it's also home to one of the most mysterious disappearances on Google Earth. A US military base, which had been visible for years, was suddenly blurred out. The base in question is believed to be part of a Cold War era operation, possibly even connected to Project Iceworm, an attempt to build a network of nuclear missile launch sites under the ice. While the official story is that the project was abandoned, some believe secret underground facilities still exist. Why else would the location be censored? Some think the base is still active and being used for classified research, possibly even involving advanced technology or extraterrestrial studies. If that sounds far-fetched, well, consider this. Greenland is a strategic location for military operations, and the US still has a presence there. So it's very possible that whatever's happening at that base, someone doesn't want us seeing it. The Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or PEOC, is allegedly located beneath the east wing of the White House in Washington, D.C. It was designed to provide a secure, fortified location for the president and other important politicians in case of an emergency. The PEOC was built deep underground, far below the White House, and is built to withstand all sorts of threats, including nuclear attacks. It's heavily fortified with thick walls and reinforced construction so that it can withstand the most extreme conditions, and it's got everything needed to carry out operations for an extended period of time. There are communication systems, supplies, and of course living quarters. It's designed to be the last line of defense in a situation where the world above has basically become hell on Earth. Aside from the basic stuff I just outlined, we really don't know much else about what's down there, as most of the details are understandably classified, but the facility has been used before, most famously during the September 11th attacks and there are actually photographs of George Bush meeting with members of the National Security Council down there. The Deep Underground Command Center. It's not 100% certain if this place even exists. It was proposed back in the 60s, but we don't know if it ever actually got built. The Deep Underground Command Center, often referred to as the Deep Underground Command and Control Site, or the DUCCS, was a US military project proposed back in 1962. The idea was to build a massive underground facility deep beneath the surface, between 3,000 to 4,000 feet down, designed to withstand a nuclear attack. The plan included two versions of the facility, a smaller one for 50 people and a larger one that could be expanded to accommodate around 300. The idea was to make sure that the facility could resist explosions from weapons as powerful as 200 to 300 megatons if detonated at the surface, or about 100 megatons if they penetrated deeper. It was pitched to President Kennedy pretty much right before he was killed. The project never moved past the planning stages. At least that's what's been said publicly. Did you know that the Pioneer Square neighborhood in Seattle was built over an old part of the city, which is still there? Back in the late 19th century, Seattle was still pretty young, but growing fast. The city was originally built at sea level, which meant that when it rained, it flooded a lot. This was especially a problem in the area known as Pioneer Square, which was the city's business district at the time. Now, despite all this flooding, it was actually a fire that did this part of the city in. In 1889, a fire started in a glue shop, and the fire quickly turned into a massive blazing inferno that destroyed large chunks of the neighborhood. After the fire, city planners decided to elevate the streets. They raised the level of the sidewalks and the building's ground floors, but the old street level was still left underneath. So as a result, you had this underground city, which actually continued being used mostly for illegal activity. But eventually the streets fell into disuse and were closed off, mostly forgotten by the general public. Today though, parts of this underground city have been preserved, and you can take guided tours through the old tunnels and buildings. Pretty cool, getting to see the remnants of old storefronts and even some of the original cobblestone streets. But supposedly, as you can probably guess, these underground streets are said to be teeming with paranormal activity. Mount Shasta is a massive and beautiful peak in Northern California, and it's been the center of some pretty wild stories over the years, including one about a hidden underground city beneath it, according to legend anyway. Some versions of the story go that this city is home to some advanced and enlightened civilization, maybe extraterrestrials, or possibly remnants of an ancient lost civilization like Lemuria. Lemuria is sort of like Atlantis, a mythical continent that supposedly sank into the ocean. The idea is that the survivors of Lemuria took refuge in the tunnels under Mount Shasta. There's also been a lot of UFO sightings around this mountain, which only adds to the rumors that something strange is happening there. One of the most famous stories comes from a prospector named J.C. Brown. In 1904, while he was searching for gold, claimed to have stumbled on a cave that led down about 11 miles. Inside, he said that he discovered an entire underground city filled with gold and other ancient artifacts as well, like shields, weapons, and even the remnants of giant mummified humanoids, some up to 10 feet tall. He didn't talk about the discovery until years later when he shared his story with a man named John C. Root. Root organized a search team to find this cave, but on the day they were supposed to meet up, Brown vanished. No one has ever seen or heard from him again.
Starting off today, let's dive beneath the surface of one of the world's most iconic landmarks, the Colosseum. But I'm not talking about the amphitheater you see in postcards. That wouldn't be very secret of me. No, I'm talking about its hidden underbelly, the hypogeum. This subterranean labyrinth was the backstage of the ancient world where the magic of the games came to life. Here, amidst the network of passageways and chambers, elaborate machinery conjured astonishing special effects, beasts roared in anticipation, and gladiators prepared for their moment in the arena. It's like discovering the secret behind a magician's trick, but on a colossal scale. And guess what? This mysterious underworld isn't just a tale from the past. Today, with the right ticket or a tour with certain companies with exclusive access, you can tread these ancient corridors yourself. Imagine standing where lions once prowled and where warriors braced for battle. It's not just a tour, it's kind of like a time machine whisking you back to the heart-pounding spectacle of ancient Rome. So, are you ready to explore the depths of history?
Alright, next on our list we have the hidden train station of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, located in New York. Not only is the Waldorf Astoria considered to be one of the most luxurious hotels in New York, it has also been the resting place for some pretty famous and infamous heads, including Nikola Tesla, the inventor of the Tesla coil, Charles Lucky Luciano, the figurehead of organized crime, Frank Sinatra, music artist, Harry S. Truman, the 33rd president, Marilyn Monroe, actress and Happy Birthday Mr. President singer, Muhammad Ali, boxer, you get the point, the list goes on and on. While most of these guests came and went within a year, there is one standout that stayed for just a bit longer. Herbert Hoover, the 31st president who lived in the hotel for a full 30 years. The railway had been used as a mode of transportation during World War II, and it was later used again by hotel guest Franklin D. Roosevelt as a way to sneak in and out of the hotel, because the train could take him right to his childhood hometown and was accessible by an elevator connected to the presidential suite. Many people also believe that FDR at one time used the train to hide his paralysis from the public because he could get in and out of the hotel without being seen by anyone. The more you know.
Have you ever noticed that a peculiar, unnamed green patch on the Disney World map floating mysteriously in Bay Lake? Well, that is no ordinary island, it's the remnants of Discovery Island, a once thriving theme park dedicated to our feathered friends and just the wonders of nature. Closed in 1999, this island has transformed from a bustling avian paradise into something more reminiscent of a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. Imagine sneaking onto an abandoned island where the echoes of laughter have been replaced by silence, and all that remains are relics of the past, a deserted snack bar, an eerie animal hospital frozen in time, and even a desolate loading dock, just to really get that kind of liminal space vibe going. Through the lens of daring adventurers who've documented their illicit explorations, we do get a rare glimpse into a place where the Disney magic has faded, leaving behind a hauntingly fascinating landscape that time just kind of forgot. So what mysterious tales does this forgotten island hold? Well, maybe that's a story for another time.
Our next famous location today is none other than the Brooklyn Bridge, which held the title of longest suspension bridge in the world for just about 20 years before it lost the title to the Williamsburg Bridge, who overtook it by just 4.5 feet. While at least 20 people died during the bridge's construction, when the Brooklyn Bridge opened, there was a massive celebration. Unfortunately, a week later, 12 more people died on the bridge after a rumor claiming it was going to collapse caused a panic among civilians. Later in 1884, circus entertainer P.T. Barnum would attempt to soothe the public's nerves by leading 21 elephants over the bridge to show its ability to withstand extreme amounts of weight. And this was successful, so yeah, he got his point across. A year after that, Robert E. Oldham, a swimming instructor, attempted to dive off the bridge into the river. He died, but ironically, a number of later jumpers actually survived the act. Hidden within the ramps leading to the East River on both sides of the bridge are two massive wine cellars. This is my kind of hidden place. While both of them are mostly emptied today, at one time they were pretty full. In the early 20th century, the historic cellars were rented out to the public as a way to fund the bridge. Today, only a very special few have had the opportunity to venture inside the bridge cellar's cold walls, as it is not currently open to the public, but you know, a girl can dream.
In 2013, a team of archaeologists, dusting off centuries of history, stumbled upon a hidden gem within the venerable walls of Scotland's most ancient castle, still standing guard through the ages. Drum Castle, which is located in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, for centuries was the seat of the chief of Clan Irvine, which dates back to the 13th century. So again, flash forward to the team of archaeologists in 2013, and what do they find? Well, tucked away from the eyes of time itself was a secret medieval chamber, a room halted in a moment long past, holding its breath and just waiting to be rediscovered. And what's inside? None other than an ancient lavatory, so marvelously preserved that even the original toilet seat was still perched in place, ready for use after hundreds of years. It's like the castle itself had been keeping its own little secrets, waiting for just the right moment to reveal a slice of everyday life from an era gone by. How's that for a historical deep dive?
Deep in the Siberian wilderness, there's a location on Google Earth that's been completely blurred out, a massive blacked out area, and nobody knows exactly what's there. Some researchers believe it could be a secret military city, one of the many closed cities that Russia has kept hidden since the Cold War. These cities were used for nuclear research, weapons testing, and other classified operations, and many of them still exist today. Others think it could be a hidden underground facility, possibly even related to Russia's rumored dead hand system, an automated nuclear radiation program. If that's the case, it makes sense why they wouldn't want anyone getting a good look at it. The Russian government has never officially acknowledged what's there, and Google won't say why it's censored, so whatever's in that blacked out zone, it's something they really don't want the world to see. Alright, this one's weird because it's not some top secret military base, it's just a giant radio telescope in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. The Greenbank Telescope is the largest fully steerable radio telescope in the world, and it's smack in the middle of the National Radio Quiet Zone, a place where Wi-Fi, cell signals, and even regular radios are heavily restricted. It's supposed to be a peaceful place for astronomers to listen to deep space without interference, but here's the thing. On some versions of Google Earth, the site has been blurred or pixelated, which makes no sense. Why would a telescope need to be censored? Well, officially it's because the site is ultra sensitive to electromagnetic waves, so maybe they don't want any interference from satellites. Makes sense, but some people think there may be something more going on here. The telescope is involved in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, scanning the sky for alien signals. If they actually picked up something classified, you can bet the government wouldn't want people digging around. Others believe there's something underground here, maybe a secret intelligence facility, maybe something even stranger. Either way, the fact that Google Earth messes with the imagery of this place only makes it more suspicious. The Faroe Islands are a bunch of rocky islands in the North Atlantic, known for their dramatic cliffs, Viking history, and, well, not much else, to be honest. But for years, parts of these islands were basically scrubbed from Google Earth. Instead of clear satellite images, certain areas were either pixelated, missing, or stuck with super outdated photos that made it look like Google was actively avoiding showing the place. Now, these islands don't have top secret bases or major military installations, at least none that we know about, so why censor them? Well, some people think it may have to do with the undersea internet cables, massive data highways that connect continents. A lot of these cables run through this region, and messing with them could mean messing with global communications, which intelligence agencies would definitely want to keep under wraps. Others think there might be some Cold War era surveillance sites still in use, hidden away in the mountains. Of course, Google could just say, hey, we don't want to update the images, but that excuse doesn't hold up when way less important places get regular updates. Some locals even started questioning whether something was going on right under their noses. Eventually, some better images made their way onto Google Earth, but for a long time, this place was basically a digital blind spot. And when places randomly disappear like that, people are gonna start asking questions. Mururoa Atoll is just a tiny island in the Pacific, but it has a pretty dark history. From the 60s to the 90s, France used it as a nuclear testing site, setting off over 180 explosives, a lot of them underground. These tests caused massive environmental damage, and some say they left the island at risk of literally collapsing into the ocean. People from nearby islands have reported weird illnesses, birth defects, and skyrocketing cancer rates. And here's where things get even stranger. If you look at the place on Google Earth, parts of it look weirdly distorted, washed out, or just flat out unclear. And why is that? Well, one theory is that there's still a secret military base on the island, and France wants to keep it hidden. Another theory is that they just don't want people seeing the long-term destruction caused by the nuclear tests. And then there's the possibility that the atoll is structurally unstable. Some scientists have even warned that if parts of it collapse, it could trigger a massive tsunami. Now, this isn't just exaggeration. Journalists have been blocked from visiting, and there's barely any recent footage of the place. So are they hiding something underground? Is the island more dangerous than they're admitting? Janette Island is a tiny frozen chunk of land in the Arctic Ocean owned by Russia. It's one of those places that barely anyone's set foot on, and on paper that's not surprising. It's just a giant rock of ice. Except at one point, Janette Island completely vanished from Google Earth. Not blurred, not pixelated, it was just completely gone. If you searched for it, all you'd see was open ocean where the island was supposed to be. Why erase an uninhabited piece of ice? That's a very good question. Some think it's because Russia is using it for something secret. The Arctic is a huge deal for military strategy and natural resources, and Russia has been ramping up its presence there. Could they be testing new weapons, running some kind of classified research? Are there hidden structures beneath the ice? Janette Island isn't the only one that's mysteriously disappeared from Google Earth. Other small Arctic islands have briefly gone missing from the maps over the years, only to reappear later with no explanation. Was it a glitch? Or was something being hidden for a reason? Nobody knows for sure.
Most people have never heard of the Western Xia dynasty, and that is exactly the problem. Located near Yinchuan in the Ningxia region, the Western Xia tombs are the burial grounds of an erased empire from Chinese history books for centuries. The massive site is often called the pyramids, but unlike their Egyptian counterparts, these are heavily restricted. Officially, parts are open to the public, but over 200 tombs remain sealed off, and any attempt to dig deeper is met with immediate denial from the state. Why? Some believe the buried relics could reveal that this dynasty developed independent writing, technology, and even pre-Mongol alliances that threaten official timelines. You've probably walked right over it and never known. Under the bustling streets of Beijing lies a 33 square mile underground city built during the Cold War, but many believe it's actually built over ancient tunnels leading to older, forbidden ruins. Known as Dixia Chang, this subterranean world was supposedly designed to protect residents from nuclear attack. But here's the catch. Huge sections of it are still off limits, guarded and monitored by the military. Some urban explorers claim that the lower levels contain ancient stone architecture predating modern construction. If true, that would mean that the Cold War shelter was just a cover for something much older and far more mysterious. Imagine a city built for the afterlife that you're not allowed to visit in this one. Fangdu Ghost City, located on the Ming Mountain near the Yangtze River, is a complex of temples and shrines dedicated to the Chinese underworld. While some parts are accessible, many ancient crypts, tunnels, and original city ruins remain closed off. What makes it strange is that local legends say those buried here were not ordinary citizens, but powerful sorcerers and alchemists trying to reach immortality. Some believe the real city lies underground, guarded by spiritual wards the government won't let researchers break. When archaeologists unearthed Sansingdui in Sichuan, they expected another early Chinese settlement. What they found instead was an ancient city filled with alien-like bronze masks, enormous ritual trees, and gold-covered statues unlike anything else in Chinese culture. Dated to around 1200 BCE, the site doesn't match any known Chinese dynasty, and it challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient China. Incredibly, only a small part of the site is accessible. Government archaeologists have refused to allow foreign teams full access to the surrounding area, citing preservation, but some believe there's more buried here, possibly even evidence of an ancient outsider civilization. If there's one place in China that terrifies even the most seasoned explorers, it's Lop Nur. Once a salt lake, now a dried up desert, Lop Nur was the site of China's earliest nuclear tests, but long before that, it was home to a thriving ancient city known as Lulan. The city vanished mysteriously over 1,600 years ago, and its remains have only partially been found. Despite this, most of the region remains strictly forbidden, surrounded by military zones. Satellite images have shown strange structures buried beneath the sand. Some believe that Lulan was part of a trade empire far more advanced than once believed, and the government doesn't want what's underneath to be found. The city of Xiangyang has been continuously inhabited for over 2,000 years, but below it, well, that's where things get a little weird. In the 1990s, workers accidentally broke into an underground chamber filled with Tang Dynasty architecture, untouched, preserved, and shockingly advanced. Artifacts found hinted at a technological level and cultural exchange that shouldn't have existed. The government immediately sealed it off. No academic papers, no tours, not even photos. Some suspect the lower city might contain relics of forbidden texts or foreign contact, especially with Middle Eastern or Roman empires. To this day, it remains off limits to the public and even most Chinese researchers.
Next up, we have the Hidden Room, located at the Leonardo da Vinci Airport, created by Arsen Pyakov during World War II after winning a competition used to determine the designer of the piece. While the statue was unveiled in 1960, it wasn't until the statue's renovation in 2006 that the secret room was discovered. Inside of the room were two parchment scrolls. One, a detailed history of the area written in classical Latin, of course. The other, a list of attendees from the opening ceremony. Many people believe the Hidden Room was included in the original design of the statue created by Arsen Pyakov. However, others believe it was implemented during the building process as a secret place to hold meetings involving sensitive information. Whatever the reason, the statue, along with the presence of the secret room, certainly pays homage to its namesake, who is well known today for the mystery behind his many inventions and various works of art.
I know this one is like a little off kilter. It's not a secret room found in an ancient landmark, but it is a secret room found in someone's apartment. And I don't know about you guys, but I believe that that is equally as fascinating. Maybe a little less, important historically, but very interesting nonetheless. The TikTok user Erin Cloudy was doing some renovations when she took to TikTok to let the world know that she had found in her recently purchased 200-year-old flat. You know, like the cupboard under the stairs from Harry Potter. We all wanted one as a kid. Well, at least I did. I don't know if that says a lot about me. But Erin got that and so much more when under her stairs she found another set of stairs. Her TikTok video racked up 140 million views, and for a good reason. Where the f did these stairs go? Like the good Samaritan Erin is, she didn't let the people down and continued to investigate and post the progress to TikTok. She revealed that her flat was considered a basement flat, and on no paperwork was there ever mention of something being beneath them. After some searching and climbing through the debris, they were able to locate a completely abandoned secret room in her home. Through more renovations and more searching, they found more boarded up doors, a bread oven, and even some secret tunnels. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have seen Barbarian, but it's safe to say that if that was me, I'd be selling that flat back immediately. Alright? If you know, you know.
Next up, we have the secret of Milano Central. I actually had the opportunity to visit this train station during a locomotive layover last September, but the only secret I discovered was that the McDonald's in Italy is way better than in Canada or the US. Like, you can get avocado chicken burgers, bacon cheese fries, and chicken wings. I'm sure that's not all, but because this video isn't sponsored by McDonald's, sponsor us McDonald's, I'm gonna move on. Hidden within the walls of Milano Central lies a royal pavilion that goes unnoticed by the almost 300,000 people who pass through the train station every single day. It was built around 1925 as a separate waiting space for the royal family at the time who frequented the station. The pavilion, once adorned with an obscene amount of fascist symbols and 1941 Germany symbolism as well, is closed to the public, but it is used on rare occasions for special events and photo shoots.
I can honestly say that I have never been to Wisconsin, so you can tell me if it's strange, but I was truly shocked to hear of the Apostle Islands located in the state. I'm not sure what I thought Wisconsin was like, but it definitely was not this. The Apostle Islands are a group of 22 islands in Lake Superior off of the Bayfield Peninsula in northern Wisconsin. Through archaeological research done in the area, scientists have determined that human activity began on these islands as early as 100 BC. That is absolutely wild. The earliest full-time settlers to the area were the Anishinaabe peoples, and some of their journeys were preserved in these incredible birch bark scrolls, some of which are now being preserved at the Smithsonian Museum. While this place has an incredibly rich and interesting history, it also has so much to offer in our modern days. There are brilliant sandstone walls in the area that look almost too incredible to be naturally made. There are tons of lighthouses here, water activities, and it seems as if we could do an entire list on just the history of the Apostle Islands. Should we do that? Would you watch it? Let me know. We can make that happen.
And to finish this off today, we have the secret place I might most like to visit, the Lucky 7 Lounge, located inside of Pixar Studios in Emeryville, California. Why? Well, because I love a speakeasy and I love Pixar. The lounge came to be after animator Andrew Gordon discovered a small hatch on the back wall of his new office. He opened it to reveal an empty room, and so Andrew got to decorating. Word spread and the bar became a regular hangout spot for executives and important guests. Eventually the hatch was replaced with a sliding bookcase equipped with a hidden button for easy access to the lounge. One of the most frequent visitors of the Lucky 7 Lounge was Steve Jobs. In fact, the lounge was even mentioned in Jobs' biography, written by Walter Isaacson, who refers to it as the Love Lounge because according to him, Steve loved to be there and he loved to bring his friends. Of course, the majority of us will never get the opportunity to set foot inside of this tiny bar or the office it resides in, but it is still cool to think about.
Starting off our list today, we have Kapustin Yar in Russia. This place, often shrouded in an aura of intrigue and mystery, is a Russian rocket launch and development site that has fueled countless conspiracy theories and urban legends since its establishment in 1946. Dubbed the Russian Roswell, it has been at the epicenter of UFO folklore in Russia, with numerous sightings and alleged alien encounters reported over the decades. The secrecy surrounding its operations only amplifies the allure, with speculations ranging from hidden extraterrestrial artifacts to advanced undisclosed aerospace technologies. While it serves as a significant hub for Russia's aerospace endeavors, its mysterious past and the restricted access to the site have made it a fertile ground for outlandish theories and urban legends, my favorite. Next up, we have Camp Peary. Commonly referred to as the Farm, is a site nestled in Virginia in the United States, and it is shrouded in a veil of secrecy that feeds the imagination and fuels countless conspiracy theories. Officially designated as a military reservation, it is widely reputed to be the CIA's premier training facility for spies and intelligence operatives. That's like the coolest thing in the world to me. I would love to be a spy. This cloak and dagger aura is compounded by the tight-lipped nature of its operations and the near impenetrable security surrounding the site, which naturally gives rise to speculations ranging from advanced espionage training methods to covert experiments and beyond. The allure of Camp Peary is not just in what is known, but in the mysteries and possibilities of what might lie within its guarded confines. This blend of fact, speculation, and mystery ensures that this site remains one of America's most interesting and captivating secret facilities. Next up on our list today, we have Huanyang Tan, which is in China. This place is full of mystery, largely due to a very intriguing discovery made there: a vast-scale model of a disputed border area between China, specifically Aksai Chin, a region administered by China but claimed by India. The model, roughly the size of several football fields, was spotted on satellite images, sparking a flurry of speculation. While the official explanation suggests it is likely used for military training, giving troops a detailed 3D perspective of the terrain they might encounter, this has not stopped a wave of theories, of course. People have suggested purposes ranging from advanced weapon testing to extraterrestrial communication. This place is full of secrets the public is just waiting to know the truth about, but the truth is, we will likely never know. Next up on our list today we have Zitkar in Russia. Okay, another one of those secret Russian facilities. This place has captivated the imagination of conspiracy theorists. I mean, what doesn't capture their imagination? But also military aficionados. Dubbed by some as Russia's Area 51, this facility is rumored to nestle within the confines of Kapustin Yar missile test range that we already spoke about, which itself is a site of considerable speculation due to its historic ties to the Soviet Union's early forays into space and missile technology. Urban legends paint Zitkar as a subterranean labyrinth teeming with alien technology and clandestine government experiments. Tales of UFO crash retrievals, reverse engineering of extraterrestrial artifacts, and even advanced propulsion research echo through the corridors of conspiracy forums, fueling a narrative that blends Cold War secrecy with sci-fi mystique. I'm just saying, Bob Lazar probably loves this place. While concrete evidence remains as elusive as the whispers of alien encounters, Zitkar's allure persists, an unexplained secret base where the limits of technology and reality itself seem to blur. Moving on down our list, we have the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which is located in the scenic New Mexico. This place is not only a cradle of scientific innovation, but also a fertile ground for the imagination. Established during World War II as part of the Manhattan Project, its primary mission was to design and build the atomic bomb. Most of us probably saw Oppenheimer, so I feel like we have a bit of an idea as to what this time in history was like. This clandestine origin has sown the seeds of mysteries that have flourished into various theories and legends. While it is revered for its contributions to nuclear science, space exploration, and national security, Los Alamos also wades through a swamp of speculative tales ranging from alien research to time travel experiments. Despite its transparent achievements in science and technology, the shroud of secrecy that once enveloped its operations feeds public curiosity and fuels tales that tread the fine line between fact and fiction. Next up on our list we have the Tonopah Test Range, ensconced in the remote reaches of Nevada. This place is a swath of land that has long been the focal point of intense speculation. Officially, it serves as a key site for the testing of advanced weapons systems and aerospace technology, playing a pivotal role in the US military's research and development endeavors. Yet, its veil of secrecy and restricted access has painted it as a hub of extraterrestrial research, secret government experiments, and futuristic aircraft testing grounds that are years ahead of their time. This place remains quite the mystery. What are they doing out there in the Nevada desert? It's the question on everyone's minds. Next up we have the Voluchinsk submarine base in Russia. A submarine base. Oh my god, it really doesn't get more secretive than that. I don't know, I'm kind of afraid of submarines. I don't know if that's like irrational or not, but they just kind of freak me out. They're so large. This place is located on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, and it is a pivotal yet very mysterious naval installation. Officially known as Rybachi Nuclear Submarine Base, it serves as the home port for a significant portion of Russia's nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine fleet. Say that 5 times fast, holy. This base's remote and inhospitable location, combined with the inherent stealth and destructive power of its submarine inhabitants, shrouds this place in an aura of mystery and foreboding. Urban legends and theories surrounding this base often focus on hypothetical underwater alien bases, or even just covert undersea operations, with some suggesting that the base's submarines are involved in missions or encounters with extraterrestrial technology beneath the Pacific Ocean's depths. I truly could not make this up. Lion City is a 2,000-year-old city intentionally flooded in 1959 to make way for a hydroelectric dam. It now lies under Qiandao Lake, incredibly well preserved, with its stonework still visible. But here's what most people don't know. Diving access is extremely limited, and many sections are closed off by the government. Divers have reported sealed doors beneath the lake that don't match the rest of the city's layout, hinting at deeper vaults or chambers hidden under centuries of water. There are rumors of underwater inscriptions that predate the known founding of the area, suggesting it may have been built atop a much older settlement. Before it was submerged by the Three Gorges Dam, the Baihiliang Stone Ridge in the Yangtze River was considered one of the oldest hydrographic stations in the world. Its carvings date back over 1,200 years and were used to track flood levels, but here's where things get really mysterious. Beneath the carvings lie sealed chambers that were never excavated. After the dam was completed, access to the ridge was cut off except through a tightly controlled underwater museum. Many believe the carvings sit atop the ruins of a long-lost city buried in the riverbed, yet the Chinese government refuses to allow further dives, claiming it's too dangerous even with modern equipment. Yes, there is a pyramid in China, and no, you are not allowed anywhere near it. Mount Baigong in remote western China is home to the so-called Baigong pipes, fossilized tubes found embedded in ancient rock near a large pyramid-like structure. The Chinese Academy of Sciences initially investigated, but later went silent. The site has since been placed under military control. Explorers who've gotten close describe unnatural geometric alignments, magnetic anomalies, and even sealed stone doors. Whether it's a natural formation or not, the government's refusal to allow further study has only deepened the mystery. Some even suggest this could be a remnant of pre-human or extraterrestrial architecture. Jiahu is famous for the world's oldest playable instruments, bone flutes over 9,000 years old, which is just hard to comprehend, but what's lesser known is that a huge portion of the site is still under wraps. Why? Some archaeologists believe it shows signs of proto-writing, complex alcohol fermentation, and even early astronomical alignment, thousands of years before the Shang dynasty. Despite its significance, only part of the site has been studied, and access to the deeper chambers has been reportedly denied. What lies beneath Jiahu could rewrite early human history, but for now, it remains buried and guarded. You won't just be banned from landing here, you're not even allowed to fly over it. Located in the remote waters of the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is one of the most secretive and strategic military bases on Earth. It's jointly operated by the United States and the United Kingdom, and it plays a major role in global surveillance, intelligence gathering, and military logistics. But its dark history goes even deeper. In the 1960s and 70s, the island's native Chagosian people were forcibly removed from their homeland to make way for the base, and many were never allowed to return. Since then, Diego Garcia has been shrouded in secrecy. The airspace above it is completely restricted, the waters around it are patrolled, and any unauthorized access by sea or air is considered a serious breach of international security. There's an island in Hawaii you're probably not allowed to step foot on, even if you're American. Niihau, often called the Forbidden Island, has remained isolated from the outside world for more than 150 years. Privately owned by the Robinson family since 1864, the island is a living time capsule. With no paved roads, no internet, no shops, and no modern infrastructure, it preserves a version of Hawaiian life that barely exists anywhere else. Only native Hawaiians who live there, invited guests, and a few government officials are allowed entry. Even the US military, which briefly used the island for training during World War II, has long since backed off. Attempts to open the island to tourism have repeatedly failed, and to this day it remains a place that even most Hawaiians will never see. This museum had to rethink everything after the most daring jewel heist in modern history. Housed inside the Royal Palace of Dresden, Germany, the Green Vault was once considered the most secure museum in Europe. It held priceless treasures including 18th century royal jewels, diamond-encrusted swords, and gold figurines. But in 2019, the impossible happened. Thieves broke in, disabled part of the security system, and stole over $120 million worth of jewels in a matter of minutes, most of which have never been recovered. Since that day, access to the Green Vault has changed dramatically. Security has been tightened to an almost militarized level, and many of the most valuable artifacts are now either off display or stored in areas completely closed to the public. What was once a showcase of opulence is now one of the most heavily guarded and restricted cultural sites in Europe. This royal tomb holds ancient secrets, but no one is allowed to disturb them. King Munmu, the first emperor to unify the Korean peninsula, requested to be buried at sea when he died in 681 AD. His tomb is believed to lie beneath a rocky islet just off the coast of South Korea. According to legend, his spirit would transform into a dragon and protect the country from invaders. The tomb is sacred, and for over 1,000 years, no one has been allowed to excavate or explore it. Modern technology could uncover what's beneath, but cultural respect and religious tradition keep the site untouched. It's not protected by fences or armed guards, but by something even stronger: an unspoken pact not to disturb the emperor's eternal vigil. Some believe it's the most controversial burial site in the world. In the heart of Srinagar, India, the Roza Bal shrine is an unassuming stone structure that's become the center of a global mystery. Some researchers claim the tomb inside belongs to Jesus Christ, suggesting he survived the crucifixion and lived out the rest of his life in Kashmir. It's a theory that challenges everything we think we know, and it's one that many people, both religious and political, want buried. The Indian government has shut down access to the tomb, and the surrounding area is closely monitored. Even locals are discouraged from discussing its true identity. Whether it holds the remains of Christ or not, Roza Bal remains one of the most politically and spiritually sensitive places on Earth. Even the people who live nearby rarely visit this haunted island. Rapa Iti, or Little Rapa, is a rugged volcanic island in French Polynesia, far removed from the world's usual travel routes. It's surrounded by sharp cliffs and unpredictable seas, making access extremely difficult. The island is covered in ancient stone fortresses and ruins, remnants of a once powerful society that vanished mysteriously. Local oral traditions tell of spirits that protected the land and punish outsiders who attempt to disturb it. While technically not illegal to visit, the island is spiritually taboo. Locals believe anyone who tries to explore the ruins without permission may suffer from illness, storms, or even vanish without explanation. It's less of a legal ban and more of a supernatural warning that no one really wants to test. Next up on our list today, we have the Thule Air Base in Greenland. This place is the United States' northernmost military installation, and it is a site covered in the icy mists of mystery and intrigue. Situated well within the Arctic Circle, this remote outpost has been a beacon, largely due to its extreme location and strategic importance. While officially it serves as a radar station and a key node in the ballistic missile early warning system, its isolated and harsh environment has only worked to fuel the speculation about scary activities and top-secret experiments. Rumors range from underground facilities burrowing into the Arctic ice to be a staging ground for space weapons or even UFO-related research. Despite these colorful tales, the site's critical role in military and aerospace operations is undeniable, standing as a silent sentinel in one of the most desolate places on Earth. Alright, starting off our top two, we have the Coleman Air Force Base in the United States, nestled in the arid landscapes of New Mexico. This place is an epicenter of aviation and aerospace innovation, but of course, it is cloaked in secrecy. Renowned for its high-speed test track, where cutting-edge aircraft and technology are pushed to their limits, Coleman has etched its name into the annals of military lore. However, it is not just the technological feats that draw attention. Whispers of UFO sightings and extraterrestrial engagements have swirled around its parameters. While firmly rooted in its mission of advancing aerial prowess, Coleman Air Force Base remains a place where rumors of alien abductions have happened to Air Force sergeants working at the facility. Known for its infamous missing Project Grudge Report 13 after the mysterious death of Sergeant Jonathan P. Lovett in 1956, Coleman Air Force Base is certainly one of the strangest bases on this list. And finally on our list today we have Area 6. Unlike its more famous neighbor, Area 51, Area 6 has managed to maintain a lower profile, yet it harbors its own strange allure. Officially, this remote outpost is designated for drone testing and other aerial experiments conducted by the Department of Energy and Department of Defense. However, its secluded location and stringent security measures have ignited the public imagination, leading to speculation that it might actually be a hotbed for activities far more secretive than acknowledged. Tales and theories range from experimental aircraft and advanced weapons testing to more outlandish claims of extraterrestrial collaborations.
Point Nemo is known as the most remote place on Earth. It's over 2,600 kilometers away from the nearest piece of land, stuck right in the middle of the South Pacific. Because it's so far from anything, it's become the perfect place for space agencies to crash decommissioned spacecraft. Starting in the 70s, agencies like NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, and JAXA have intentionally aimed old satellites, cargo ships, and entire space stations to fall there. About 260 pieces of space hardware has been dumped in this spot, including the massive Soviet Mir station. The International Space Station is actually scheduled to crash here too, sometime around 2031. This place is often called the Spacecraft Cemetery or Space Graveyard, which is pretty apt names. It's literally exactly what it is. And here's something kind of crazy to think about. Point Nemo is so far from civilization that when debris is falling, the people closest to the crash zone are usually astronauts in the International Space Station flying overhead. Even marine life is almost non-existent here because it's so far from anything. So sure, Area 51 hides secret planes, probably aliens, but Point Nemo is far more isolated. There's a strange patch of desert in northern Mexico called the Zone of Silence. It's a 31-mile wide area in the Chihuahuan Desert where radios, compasses, and GPS devices is in the US. All across parts of Germany and Austria, people have been finding these tiny underground tunnels called Erdstalls. They're usually only about 3 to 4 feet high, so you can't even stand up in them. They twist and turn underground sometimes for over 160 feet, and they were dug out hundreds of years ago, probably sometime between 11 and 1300, but nobody knows why they were built. There's not much inside, they're just empty tunnels. Some people think they were used for storage or escape routes, but there are sections of the tunnels that are super narrow in places. You have to crawl through on your stomach, which doesn't sound very practical for hauling supplies. This makes some people believe they were used for rituals or ceremonies, or people went underground as part of some sort of initiation, maybe representing death and rebirth. It could also have been used by secret societies back in medieval times. The hidden entrances and the confusing layout could help people move around without being seen during secret meetings and ceremonies. Over 700 of these tunnels have been found across Europe, and they don't seem to be tied to any one town or religion. Similar to the Erdstalls scattered across Cornwall, usually under farmland, you'll also find tunnels from the Iron Age, built about 2,000 years ago, called Fogu tunnels. Nobody really knows why they exist. They're long, narrow, and made from huge slabs of stone, twisting around underground, sometimes for tens of meters. Archaeologists have found almost no tools or artifacts inside, which is kind of weird for something so carefully built. They could have been hideouts during raids. Makes sense, they're tight, hard to get into. It's also possible they were storage rooms, could definitely be handy on a farm, or maybe they were, again, ritual sites, places to tell stories. Tunnels create these eerie echoes. Bring a couple candles down there at night, get a pretty ideal place for a ghost story.
Underneath a sleepy town in Normandy sits one of France's most closely guarded secrets. At first glance, Cernay-la-Ville looks like any quiet French coastal village, but beneath its surface lies a classified Cold War-era bunker that reportedly houses France's nuclear communication and emergency protocols. The Cernay-la-Ville vault is rarely mentioned in public records, and its exact coordinates are unknown to most. Locals have reported heavy military traffic, strange antenna arrays, and secured compounds that are never explained. The government refuses to comment on its purpose. While there are no obvious barriers or signs, attempting to get close results in immediate confrontation with armed guards. It's a ghost facility, one whose presence is undeniable, but whose function remains completely hidden from public knowledge. Some parts of the desert are more than just sand, and this one is completely sealed off. Just outside the city of Ha'il in northern Saudi Arabia, Arabia, lies a vast stretch of desert that's officially restricted by the military. The area contains thousands of ancient rock carvings, some dating back over 10,000 years, as well as towering megaliths that hint at forgotten civilizations. But despite its cultural significance, the region is completely off limits to the public. Scholars believe the government may be hiding archaeological sites or possibly even modern facilities beneath the sands. Locals have shared stories of drones being shot down, cars being stopped at unmarked checkpoints, and mysterious lights appearing on the horizon. Whatever's out there, it's being kept under tight control. This is where America buried its radioactive shame, and it's leaking. During the Cold War, the US conducted 67 nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands, devastating both the land and the people. To contain the waste, the US military built the Runit Dome, a massive concrete cap over a crater left by a nuclear blast on Runit Island. Beneath the dome are tons of radioactive soil, debris, and weapon remnants. But here's the terrifying part. The dome is cracking. Rising sea levels and erosion have weakened the structure, and scientists now warn it could leak plutonium into the Pacific. The island is completely off limits, not just because of government policy, but because stepping foot on it could mean long-term radiation poisoning. It is a ticking time bomb sealed in concrete. Speaking of radiation poisoning, you can visit Chernobyl, but there's one part that's off limits, probably forever. While the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine has been opened to guided tours and researchers, Reactor 4, the exact site of the 1986 explosion, remains deeply restricted. The damaged core was initially encased in concrete, but over time it began to crack and leak radiation. In 2016, a new steel sarcophagus called the New Safe Confinement was slid over it, sealing off the most radioactive materials. Even scientists aren't allowed to enter without full hazmat suits, respirators, and special permissions. Radiation inside could still kill a person within minutes. For now, and possibly for centuries, Reactor 4 will remain sealed, quiet, and glowing with the consequences of mankind's biggest nuclear mistake.
The Eagle's Nest in Florida, not a place you want to go for your first scuba dive. It's notorious for being one of the most dangerous scuba diving spots in the world. Now, from the surface, it looks like a small pond, a typical sinkhole you might see in your average park, and the dive starts off looking relatively straightforward, but as you descend, the challenges begin to pile up. The water gets darker the deeper you go, visibility drops off quickly. The cave system itself is this tangled mess of narrow, twisting passageways that can easily disorient even experienced divers. The cave system is incredibly deep, diving down more than 300 feet, and the water just turns pitch black. There's a huge risk of what's known as depth intoxication or narcosis, where the deep pressure affects your brain and judgment, making it harder to think clearly, which is a no-go for being deep underwater. On top of that, the cave passages are narrow and twisty, making navigation extremely difficult. At least 10 professional divers have died while exploring Eagle's Nest. In Buckinghamshire, England, there's a seemingly ordinary church and mausoleum. Surprise, surprise, it's not that ordinary. This site, surrounded by peaceful countryside, is actually the entrance to Hellfire Caves, a big network of tunnels and chambers carved out by hand. The caves were built by Sir Francis Dashwood in the 18th century. Dashwood was known for his wealth and some controversial activities. He had plenty of money and influence, and decided that he was going to expand on the existing network of caves beneath his property. His goal was to create a secret underground space that would serve as a dwelling for his infamous Hellfire Club and their secretive gatherings. The Hellfire Club members were rumored to engage in some pretty dark activities. Some of it was said to be a little scandalous, but the more extreme stories were that they practiced strange rituals, possibly even involving human sacrifice. One of the club's members Paul Whitehead was said to have burned all the records of the club's activities on his deathbed, so we'll never really know what went on down there. You can actually go on tours of these caves today, and not that you'd be allowed to, but you probably wouldn't want to spend the night there alone, given the rumors about its past. Unless you're like me, in which case you'd just jump at the opportunity. Beneath the streets of Columbia, South Carolina are a series of catacombs, and no one is exactly sure what they were built for. What we do know is that they're completely off limits, but that doesn't stop urban explorers from sneaking their way in anyway. And what they're met with are a bunch of eerie, dark, dank tunnels. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Columbia was growing rapidly, and like many cities, it needed more space. This led to the construction of a network of passages and rooms beneath the city. They were originally supposedly built for practical reasons, mainly storage, but over time, rumors began to spread about what was actually going on down there. Some say the catacombs were used during Prohibition for bootlegging or other illegal activities like hiding stolen goods. Others think they might have been secret meeting places for political organizations. There are even urban legends about them being used for more sinister purposes. Access to these catacombs is highly restricted. The entrances are mostly sealed off or hidden, and while some parts of the catacombs have been documented, a lot of it is unexplored. The San Jose Mine. This site in the Atacama Desert became infamous in 2010 when a massive cave-in trapped 33 miners underground for over 2 months. They were trapped more than 2,300 feet underground, finding themselves in this cramped, dark space with no direct access to the surface. The heat down there must have been intense, and they had very limited ventilation. For the miners, every minute underground was a struggle for survival. The rescue operation was huge. It involved drilling through thick rock to reach the trapped miners. There were 3 separate drilling teams. Corporations from around the world aided in the rescue. Even NASA was involved. The rescue team used a specially designed capsule named the Phoenix to bring the miners up to the surface, but it took a while. The miners spent 69 grueling days underground before the first man was finally brought to the surface. But in the end, all 33 miners survived. And for some reason, there are tons of conspiracy theories surrounding the Denver International Airport. On the surface, it's just an airport, but there are said to be all sorts of little nods to the Illuminati throughout the place. And there are also the underground tunnels. There are some conspiracy theories about these tunnels not just being used for transporting luggage, but that they house secret bunkers for the world's elite. Others think the tunnels might even contain alien bodies. Now, why is it that there are all these crazy rumors about the Denver airport? Well, some people have pointed out that it has a bit of an unusual design. The airport has also a number of paintings and sculptures that a lot of people find unsettling or cryptic. There's a huge horse statue that's said to be a harbinger of doom. It's often referred to as Lucifer by locals and folks online. The Cheddar Caves in Cheddar Gorge in England may not have the most ominous name, but there have been some pretty unsettling finds down there over the years. This gorge is the biggest in the country, about 400 feet deep, and it's been around for roughly 1 million years. It started forming back in the last ice age. Beneath the gorge, there's a huge network of caves where there have been some pretty cool archaeological finds. It seems like the Cheddar Caves were used by humans for around 40,000 years, so you can imagine how many crazy finds there are down there. The most famous find from these caves is the Cheddar Man, the oldest skeleton ever found in Britain. Discovered in 1903, Cheddar Man lived about 10,000 years ago. But there's some even more interesting stuff than that, and also a bit creepy. Scientists have found bones in the caves that are about 13,000 years old, with marks indicating that they were eaten, and not by wild animals. Yeah, as if prehistoric life wasn't horrific enough already, it looks like people were eating each other too, which is not that surprising, but it's still unsettling. The bones showed signs of having been scraped clean, which means the people they belonged to were likely consumed. Deep under the Nika mine in Mexico, there's a brutal, dangerous place called the Cave of Crystals. It's packed with giant crystals. Some of them are over 30 feet long and weigh more than 50 tons. The cave was discovered by accident in 2000 when miners were drilling and broke through the rock. It's not a place people can easily explore though. The heat inside can hit 136 degrees Fahrenheit with humidity so high that just breathing becomes dangerous. Without a special suit and oxygen, you'd pass out in minutes. Scientists think the crystals got this big because the cave was once flooded with hot, mineral-rich water that stayed trapped underground for at least 500,000 years, giving the crystals time to grow to these insane sizes. One of the strangest discoveries is that some of the crystals have small pockets of water inside that might hold ancient microbes, possibly trapped for up to 50,000 years. At Judge C.R. Magny State Park, the Brule River splits just before a waterfall. One side flows over the falls normally, but the other side plunges straight into a deep pothole called Devil's Kettle, and then vanishes. People have thrown all kinds of stuff in there, sticks, ping pong balls, and GPS trackers, hoping to find where the water comes out. Nothing ever shows up downstream. In 2017, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources finally tested the flow and found the river's volume below the falls matches what's coming in, so the water isn't underground in some secret cave far away, probably loops back underground close by, but how it moves without popping back up is still a mystery. The pothole's current might trap debris before it can escape, which is why nothing surfaces. So yeah, it's not a black hole or anything, but the place still messes with your head. Off the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia, there's this ruined city called Nan Madol, built right on top of a coral reef. It's made up of about 100 small artificial islands connected by a network of canals, which is why people sometimes call it the Venice of the Pacific. Everything's built from huge basalt stones. Some of them weigh up to 50 tons. No one really knows how people in the area moved and stacked them without cranes, wheels, or metal tools. Archaeologists say Nan Madol was probably built around 800 years ago, but the deeper you dig, the more complicated it gets. There's very little written history about the place, and a lot of what we do know comes from oral legend. Some say the stones were flown into place by magical birds. Others believe the city was once connected to a now lost continent or was built by giants. Even today, some people in Pohnpei think the place is cursed, and they avoid going there after dark. Mount Liko is this huge, steep mountain in Mozambique with steep cliffs that completely cut it off from the surrounding land. The top is covered in rainforest, but nobody had ever set foot in it until 2012, at least no documented cases. People had been up there a very, very long time ago, but not permanently. So for who knows how long, this forest sat pretty much unexplored, like a little lost world sitting on a mountain. Locals living nearby knew about the mountain, but didn't climb it because the cliffs were pretty much impossible to scale without proper gear. So when scientists finally got up there, they found some pretty amazing stuff. It was a rainforest that had grown in total isolation. The plants and animals up there had been living with almost zero human interference. They found unique frogs, rare butterflies, and plants that might not exist anywhere else on the planet. But there were pots and old tools buried under the soil. No evidence anyone ever lived up there full time though. It's still not totally clear how those artifacts got there. This is one of the most isolated forests in the world. Jatinga is a tiny village in India, and every year between September and November, something really weird happens. At night, tons of migrating birds suddenly start diving straight into trees, buildings, and just the ground. It almost seems like they're doing it on purpose. As for why, no one really knows. One possibility is that the birds get confused by the village lights. The artificial glow throws off their navigation and they just crash into stuff. The fog and wind around that time probably doesn't help either. Some scientists think there might be some magnetic weirdness in the area messing with the birds' internal compasses. And then there's the folklore. Original Naga tribe who lived there thought that these were evil spirits attacking, which scared them enough to leave the village. Deep under Antarctica's ice is Lake Vostok, one of the largest and most mysterious subglacial lakes on Earth. It's buried beneath about 2.5 miles of ice, and it's been sealed off from the surface for at least 15 million years. That's a lot of years. Scientists only found it existed through satellite radar and ice-penetrating technology, since you can't just drill down without risking contaminating everything. The lake is huge, bigger than Lake Ontario, but it's been isolated for so long it it might be home to life forms totally new to science. In 2012, Russian scientists finally drilled through the ice and reached the lake water, taking samples that have been studied ever since.